Yeah, uptown. Yo, we kicking it live. Vince and Stevie D, OWSports podcast is the place to be. Bill's Mafia, repping the red, white, and blue, no doubt. With Josh Allen, just stand up and shout. Gang Green, coming with that New York flair. Jets in the mix, you know they taking it there. The rivalry is fierce, but they keep it 100. Legends in the making, pressure never stunted. From MetLife to Highmark, bright lights when the night's dark. Touchdown, dreams, steel beams, leave a big spark. Bills and Jets, we clash on the field, but on this podcast, we keep it sealed. Respect for the game, we all in the zone. Vince and Stevie D, we holding our own. So tune in tight, don't miss a beat. OW Sports, where the real ones meet. Sit back.
It's OW Sports, the fastest growing podcast about the Buffalo Bills and New York Jets. You get the best takes, the most engaging interviews, and they are always keeping it real. So sit back, relax, and get ready to talk some NFL. Now here's your hosts, Vince and Stevie D.
And welcome back to another edition of Official Word Sports. I'm Vince, and I am here with my co-host, the one, the only, Stevie D. Stevie D's in the house. What's happening?
What's going on?
Well, you know, as the title of this episode says, it's about big dubs, victories for the Bills, and victory for the Jets. How about that? How about that? Finally, we can have a show where both teams win.
I got something even better. The Jets are closer to the Kansas City Chiefs than the Kansas City Chiefs are to the number one seed in the AFC. Baby steps, Vince. Baby steps.
I really wish I was up there in, the 913, to just hear the chatter, right? The entitled, the spoiled. But it kind of feels like they're passing the baton back to Foxborough. I don't like that. I don't like what's going on over there.
Yeah, the fan base here is pretty shaken. I don't think they saw 6-6, but I don't think they thought the best team they would be the best team in the NFL. But they didn't think 6-6 would have been possible after 12 games.
Now, in fairness, DVD, and I'm not throwing shade at all, but in fairness, last year they were so lucky.
Yeah.
And they rode that luck all the way to the end. But they're a good team. I'm not going to deny that they're not a good team, but they're not the team of yesteryear now for them.
Yes.
And they were 5-0 or 6-0 in games decided by
5-0.
5-0 in games decided by less than or one score games.
Right.
We'll just call it one score games. For them to be able to ride that, and I mean, they won every which way imaginable. I still can't get over the Raider game, right? They were dead to rights in that Raider game. What in the world is happening? I can't get over how you kick a field goal, it hits the goalpost, and in every other time, it'll bounce out, but for them, it bounced in. I can't believe how the Broncos did Olay and just let the whole line go through and you have a blocked field goal. I don't get it.
Well, here's the Chiefs are 6-6, but in fairness to them, I will say all their losses are one score or less. So as much as they're 6-6, they could be 9-3, right? Because they're in every game. It really does truly, for the most part, come down to that last possession of the game. And like you're saying, it just didn't bounce. It's not bouncing at all this way this year for them, right? I think they're 1-5 or something now in the one score games. Where last year at one point they were 5-0, or they finished the year 5-0 in one score games. But the Chiefs are not winning the way the Chiefs were used to winning 5 and 6 years ago.
Sure,
everything seems to be close. Nothing is coming easy. I think they've had one. The Raider game was easy, right? 31-0. The Commanders 28-7. easy game. Ravens, they won handily, but their victories, when I look at their victories outside of the Colts game 2 weeks ago, have been 22-9, 37-20, 30-17, 31-0, 28-7, right? So those are pretty good victories. Their losses have been close.
Except for one.
Buffalo,
Oh, yes.
the
That
28-21 game. Yeah.
yeah.
But again, it's just funny. Last year, you couldn't, you won every which way that you can win a freak way to win a game. I mean, people don't get that in 20 years of football. They got that in one season,
That's
right?
right.
And so now this year, again, they're not getting their butts kicked. It's just something is off. The mojo is off. We saw it early on. What's up, Rob? We saw it early on, the dysfunction with Chris Jones and Tranquil, the safety, yelling. We've seen a lot more yelling on the sidelines. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing in football, right? Because you're competitive, but it's just things we're just not used to seeing. Something is definitely off. Personally, I thought when Rasheed Rice came back with Worthy healthy, I thought they were really going to explode because they had the speed and then they had underneath and they could really. But it's just not. It's just not flowing. It's not flowing at all. The running game is just not. Hasn't been the same either.
And we've seen that. We've seen that all throughout sports, right? You just expect when certain things happen that the switch gets flipped, and you're like, because all along, right? Everybody's waiting. And you're like, oh, you just wait. They'll be able to flip that switch at any point, right? They've talked about that with the Lakers, right? They've talked about that with the Yankees. They've talked about that with all teams, right? That are out there. Just let them flip that switch. Well, sometimes. You ever notice sometimes when the bulb is burnt, you flip the switch and nothing's working?
Right? Yeah. Well, in fairness, I've seen it with the Yankees where they just kind of coast, and then you get to the playoffs, and then all of a sudden you kind of it goes right. You're like, all right, the regular season's the regular season, and the playoffs. That's why I don't want to necessarily dismiss them and say they're not a threat. They're just.
Hey, Demetrius, just wait on that one. just, just wait. I'm going to keep that one queued up for you, Demetrius.
I have a feeling there's more to that story.
Well, might as well talk about it now. So Demetrius, sorry, I know you were talking about the Chiefs, but Demetrius asks, so the Bills signed Darius Slay. What do you think about it? Well, I think that our esteemed general manager has pulled one on all of us, right? We were all thinking and waiting for the trade deadline. And he said, oh, wait, hold my beer. I'm going to let the trade deadline come and go. And everybody's going to be worried. And then I have my finger on the pulse. I'm going to go get McCole Hardman. I'm going to go get Brandon Cooks. Yes, I have solidified my receiving position. Oh, wait, Hardman's on IR. Then he says, now, I do need to get another corner. Let me go get Darius Slay. Yes, the same Darius Slay, Stevie D, that I put in our chat, that during the Super Bowl, he was beat multiple times on the same route. The exact same route. Very reminiscent of the Bills-Steelers game, running the same play and being successful. Yes, this is the same gentleman that bit on the inside and then was fooled as the receiver goes to the outside for a touchdown. That Darius Slay. So I am just overjoyed with Brandon Beane and his ability to pull off these magical free agent pickups. And Rob says, yes, it's a low-cost rental for $350,000 to have a guy, an older guy, get beat time and time again, and for us to just pound on the table and pull out our hair because, no, we couldn't do anything when time really mattered. When there were players to be had, no, we couldn't do it. We couldn't do anything, even though we had players come in to restructure contracts to give us money. No, we couldn't do it because we didn't know how to spend our money and how to have money available on the cap. No, we couldn't do it. So we go and get the likes of McCole Hardman, Brandon Cooks, and now Darius Slay. You really want to know how I feel about that? Once again, accountability. And so since you were not able to do what you were supposed to do, you want us to think now you're going to swoop in after the trade deadline and make all these moves. It is up to Terry Pegula to do what he's supposed to do and hold Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott accountable. Sorry, Stevie D. I know we don't normally go first like this, and we're supposed to.
Oh, you're good.
But this one just, we're going to keep watching these because you're just fishing. You are hoping that you can strike gold because you screwed up. And you want us to be satisfied to say, oh, well, you made a deal. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. And really, this should be, just like I said on the last podcast, should be an indictment on what you did not do and now how you're trying to just try to find whatever, you know what they say, you throw it against the wall and you see what sticks. That's what you're doing. And we're supposed to be happy with that? This is supposed to be a Super Bowl team that just throws stuff against the wall and see what sticks? Absolutely not. I challenge you, Brandon Beane. You want to go on the local radio station and complain about how they were talking about how you didn't get wide receivers? Come on, OWSports. You sit where Stevie D is sitting, and you and I go head to head about how you have failed. You have failed. An absolute joke of a general manager.
Hey, wait a minute. Replace me?
Well, temporarily. Just let him come in for that segment.
I'm going to have to sit in the middle of this window there where the logo is that separate you guys and make sure you don't reach through and grab them.
No separation. You're a joke. Just find your way back to Carolina. You and Dan Morgan hang out down there in Carolina. Take Sean McDermott with you. Take Joe Brady with you. Take Bobby Babbage with you.
Is he from Carolina too?
I know, probably so. Take all the rest of the 50 guys on the roster that are from Carolina with you. Horrible. And don't flaunt this in our face. You want us to be happy about that? Do not do that. You're going against our intelligence. You're going against our fandom. Where did you think you went? This is the 716. Understand. We bleed red, white, and blue. We have sucked for so long, and we've still been there. We were there before you, and we will be there after you. We know what pain is. We know what good is. We knew what a good general manager looked like. We knew what a good head coach looked like. We were just kind of caught off guard because of 17 years of losing. So no, Darius Slay, again, I'm going to put this back up there, and you hit the time bomb. What do you think of that? I think I have answered that. My question to everybody else out there, if you are a Bills fan, what do you think? Do you feel the same way that Vince feels about Darius Slay?
Ooh, Otis Smith.
And Demetrius says, yes, he agrees. And Rob says, we let proven backup Ingram go to sign Slay. Yep. And there you go. Thank you, Rob. Part of the 2015 Carolina coaching. No surprise. I was having such a good day till that came across. I was having such a good day. Honestly, Stevie D, I'd rather there have not been any such announcement. Just none. Re-sign the guy off your practice squad, bring him up. To Rob's point, you let Ingram go. There's other guys that deserve a shot. What are you doing? Oh, we signed former Super Bowl champ. Ah! If if we had enough time, Stevie D, we really could have brought out the highlight clips. You know what's funny, and this is for everybody out here, and everybody knows this to be true. Everybody knows this to be true. Draft night. What happens on draft night? Right, a guy gets selected. Now they go to the panel that's up there, and they want to talk about the guy. Kuiper busts out to talk about the highlight clips, and they show the guy. Right, more often than not, some guy playing against Southwest East Louisiana Tech University, right, or another directional college in the Little Sisters of the Poor, and just dominating. Just absolutely dominating. And then there may be one play where he's going to get up against a regular Power 5 school, right? But maybe you have the backup in there, or he may have just made a play. I'll give him credit. But there's only one of those, right? And then they want to say, look at his get off, look at his upper body strength, look at his twitch, look at his arms. And you see all this stuff, and they're just hyping him up. We need to do the real tape. We need to get the Darius Slay tape and give you guys, just a 20-second snippet of Darius Slay. Enjoy that, right? Enjoy a guy running past him. Enjoy him falling down on the ground because his jock is 5 rows up in the stands. That's what we need to do. Okay. Yes.
Otis
Yes.
got beat a ton.
You guys are going You guys with the comments are going way too fast. I cannot keep up. I'm going to have to go straight here. We're going straight to the side by side. Stand by. Here you go, Stevie D. Way too fast, right? And you're right, Rob. Getting the band back together, bringing Shaq Lawson. Well, while we're at it, Stevie Johnson, I think, is still available. Fred Jackson is still available. Matter of fact, Thurman and Bruce are itching. We had some guys that tried to come out of retirement. Maybe we could just bring them all back together. Maybe if we got Tasker back in, he'd have a shot to get into the Hall of Fame again, right? Because, time expired, but if he comes back. All right.
I know we generally talk football, but did you hear the sad news out of the NBA today?
No, what was the sad news?
The passing of Eldon Campbell at 57, the former Laker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just read that before we came on, so I'm sorry I kind of hit you a shock like that. You didn't know about it, but just was reading that he was subject to a hoax death back in January, and unfortunately, and I confirmed it on several areas that he did pass. He was fishing, and he came back off the boat and everything was good, and he kind of just dropped. So,
that is sad.
So they're waiting on what the cause of death is. Obviously, it just was reported like 4 to 6 hours ago. It came out.
Now I'm going to tell you something that's crazier, and you never want to hear this. Rob, I don't know where you are in this. Demetrius, we grew up together, so I know you know where we are. Stevie D. As we get older and older, these names, you know the names. Right? When you were little and you heard, so-and-so, Hank, whatever.
Right.
Don't know him, right? Old-time Baltimore Colt or old-time Green Bay Packer, right? Okay, right? You feel bad, right? You're not happy, but okay. Now, when you hear the names of the people that are passing, you're like, I watched you. I cheered for you, right? I remember when you were drafted, meaning – and a lot of times you're older than them, right? And it's hitting a little harder than I think it would have when we were younger.
Sure.
So
he's 57 years old, right?
That is actually shocking because I thought he was younger, but yeah, no, I really do remember him. in the league remember what the Lakers.
Yep. Yep.
So, Stevie D, we did our Thanksgiving show. And again, I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. I myself had too good of a Thanksgiving. I wanted to see how bad. I stepped on the scale, and the scale said get off instead of showing me a number. So I realized, okay, that wasn't a good one, but I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it.
I hear you. My scale, we must have the same manufacturer because it did the same exact thing back with me. And yeah, I'm still feeling all kind of rough. And yesterday was Dino and I's anniversary, so then we had to go out to eat yesterday, and then all that, and it's like it rolled into the other, and that's how I feel right now. I'm just, oh God, it's yeah, 24 years, my man, 24 years.
Happy anniversary. And if Mrs. D is listening, happy anniversary.
Yeah.
Very,
Crazy.
very nice.
Goes
Very
quick.
nice. And going strong. And that's the good thing about it. Um,
And you've been around for all 24 years. You think about it.
that just makes me feel even older. Thank you. Thank you.
We're on that topic.
So we had the Turkey Day games, right? We had the Turkey Day games. I did not think that I was going to enjoy the games as much as I did. And maybe it was because of the outcome, Stevie D. You had the Packers defeat the Lions. You had the Bengals beat the Ravens, which was a minor shock, I think, for me. And then how about those Cowboys? How about those Cowboys?
I don't know, Jay. I think that's a little shot towards you there. Just not gonna lie, there was a little bit of emphasis there. Just throwing it out there.
Jay, you're a little fragile, right? You're a little fragile because Black Friday showed up, and Stevie D, I'm going to say this. I had the Bears as a wild card, not as a number one seed. What is going on? Maybe we talk about that one. Well, no, we have to start with the Cowboys because the Cowboys defeated the Chiefs. Lovely. Now, they said the ratings for that game were just off the charts. Absolutely. Which you can figure, right? But it really was lovely just to watch the Chiefs sit there because in their mind, they were going to go down to Dallas and they were going to win this game. There was no doubt in their mind. And to see Dallas walk away with a victory, oh, man.
So Dina's aunt lives in Fort Worth and is a Cowboys fan. So at the end of the game, she calls the house and she's on the phone. She goes, "How about them Cowboys, Dina?" Oh my God, it was so funny. She's like 85 years old to say, "How about them Cowboys?"
Now, is Mrs. D a Chiefs fan?
She is. She has bought into it out here. Yeah. Well, like she. How do I say? She likes your Bills because of you, but she roots for the Chiefs because she's here, and she just hates the Jets because of me. So I just can't win for losing on that one. So.
But I think that's why she likes the Bills.
Yes. So, yeah, and how we stayed married for 24 years on that one, I don't know, but it was funny to hear her aunt get on the phone. How about you Cowboys? That was the first words out of her mouth. So, but
I'll tell you, we talked a little bit about the Chiefs, their 6-6 record. I think what's even a little bit more amazing is the Cowboys who were left for dead. Now, after putting together a little bit of a winning streak, they're in the mix. They're definitely in the mix.
They're in the mix. Their playoff run, they're going to have to be darn near perfect. That tie may help them.
Yes.
But they got a lot of work to do. In the path they have to overtake the Eagles to win the division to get into the playoffs. But if they get there, Yeah, they can be very dangerous. Their defense is totally different, and their defense in the last since the trades, they're top five defense. Right?
Yep.
It's not like they have played slouches either. Right? Where you can say, well, they played bottom feeders, so yeah, of course their defense is going to look good. They've played some good football teams of late. So
Stevie D, I just want you to chew on this one for a second. A Cowboys win and a Lions loss, and the Cowboys are ahead of the Lions.
oh, really? See, when I was watching the show, they made it seem like the path really for that. Maybe it's because what they have left on their schedule. Maybe their schedule is tougher than others, and they made it seem like their best path to the playoffs was a division title. Which don't the Eagles have 8 wins?
So you can look at it that way. When you look at the Eagles, they are 8-4. That is correct. The Cowboys, and you're right with that tie. The Cowboys sit in ninth spot, right at 6-5-1. The Lions are in the number 8 spot, so they're on the outside looking in. A Cowboy victory puts them at 7-5-1, and a Lions loss puts them at 7-6. That tie propels them into the 8th spot, only one spot away from the playoffs. Now, here's where they run into problems. The 49ers are 9-4. The Seahawks are 9-3. So really, and that's where it goes to, you're going to have to catch the Eagles, who are 8-4, which is still doable. But that's where it really breaks down. It's a lot harder to make up those 2 games or 2.5 games to pass the 49ers or the Seahawks.
You're only lost one behind the loss column against the Eagles, right? And that's where that tie really can help you with the Eagles.
Correct.
Only one game back in the loss column, and I still think they have a game with them left.
That's correct. That's
So,
correct. 6-5-1 versus 8-4. That is correct. So it really was interesting. I'm not a Cowboy fan. I can't root for the Cowboys except for when they play the Chiefs or maybe the Patriots. I think that's the only time I can root for them. But I really was enjoying that. I also was enjoying watching how George Pickens is still dominating. No, that's not a wide receiver we could have traded for. No, we didn't even try. I think that was a third rounder. I think it was a third rounder that they gave up for that. We have no need for that. Everybody eats, Stevie D. Everybody eats. That's our GM. All right, so the one I wanted to go to, though,
okay.
is the Bears. We talked about the Bears, and I said, they're going to make a wild card. You're looking at the Chicago Bears right now, Stevie D, 9-3, number 1 seed in the NFC.
Wow.
I have nothing for you. I did not expect this.
Yeah, Ben Williams came out this week, and he had a snippet and says, and I'm ad-libbing just a hair here because I don't remember the exact quote, is that, yes, we're 9-3, but we have a lot of work to do on the offensive side of the ball. He says, we're 9-3 despite our offense, is what he said. So, yes, they're 9-3 and they're getting by. And I think he's just saying, when you get to the playoffs, you have to be firing much better on offense if you're really gonna compete. So, but with all that said, 9-3 on a 9-game winning streak. I mean, this guy's taking off his shirt in the post-game press conferences now. I mean, what is he going to do next? He's running out of things. You got to be careful, bud. You can't go from that to taking your shirt off. Now, what's your next move? I'm afraid. There's a family show here.
This is true. It's good to watch. It's good to see. I'm not gonna lie. I have no love, no hatred for the Bears, but it's good to see. And I think I like the Bears' ascension to the top more than I like what the Lions were doing and how the Lions got to the top, right? Because I think when you look at the Lions, it just felt so gimmicky, right? It all started with the first press conference, right? I'm biting kneecaps. You know, whoa, right? And everybody's talking about that. And then it became like this gunslinger mentality. We're going for everything. We're not punting. We're not kicking. All right, sometimes there's good decisions that need to be made. And if you're not doing that, right, you're really just playing games
You mean
instead of coaching.
adult decisions?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, right?
You're not playing Madden?
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly it, right? It's like you have a regular adult playing Madden, and then here come the Lions with the 13-year-old Dan Campbell, saying, "Oh, I'm going for it." 4th and 42, we're going for it. Okay. We're not going to go through the whole playoff standings right now. I think as we get a little closer, there are some things that we do want to call out. But the one thing I do want to say, we have officially put the E next to certain teams who have been eliminated from playoff contention.
Gee, thanks.
And by the strength of the victory for the New York Jets, they do not have the E. They said, oh, no, I don't want the E. We're going to make the ride. And you had said something about this before, that you have a chance. You still have a chance, Stevie D.
This is not 2002. There is no chance. I mean, it was a wild week, last week of football in 2002, to make the playoffs, and then miraculously, not only do we make the playoffs, we won the division on that wacky Sunday. Yeah, I think the chances of the Jets making the playoffs are .0001. Yes, it's a line from a movie, so you're saying there's a chance, but
So Stevie D, really, unless you have others, there's two games from last week that I want to talk about. Okay, I'll start with the easy one first. The Commanders and the Broncos goes down to the final play in overtime. Well, in essence, the final play in overtime. The Commanders, in the way they came back to tie the game in it itself. You're talking about a team that only had 3 wins on the season going against one of the AFC powerhouses, right? And the Broncos were dominating and then all of a sudden stopped, right? They just stopped. And that thing called momentum got going, and you were able to see the Commanders with a backup quarterback. And Marcus Mariota, I have to give him absolute kudos for the way that he played the run and the pass. But they were able to find their way to tie the game. And then upon tying the game, the Broncos go right down the field. They hit Ingram for the touchdown. They're up. And so now the Commanders have to get down the field and get a touchdown. To what they do, right? A big 4th down play. They get the touchdown. Now they're down a point. Here's the question for you. Do you go for 2 or do you kick the extra point?
Go for 2. You got 3 wins. You go for the win. What is a tie going to do you?
It's a good question. It's a good question because they do go for 2. Broncos blitz, coming off the corner. The play was open because of the blitz, but Mariota just couldn't get the ball over. It gets deflected, and they lose 27-26. But here's the question, and I'd love to hear those that are with us here on the podcast get your opinion on this, because I have a team that only has 3 wins. A tie, I know we talk about a tie like kissing your sister, right? But a tie means you don't have another tick in the loss column, and you fought hard. Does that matter versus risking it for the victory? Because go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your statement.
Because I think at that point, what does it matter between 4-8 or 3-9? But I'd rather not have the loss, and I think I'd be okay with the tie.
I think from a competitive nature, it's wins and losses and not ties. And as a coach, I don't want to walk out of there with a tie. I want to walk out of there with a victory. and maybe it can be a momentum thing for the team. I also think because they're not in playoff contention, the tie doesn't do them anything, and I don't think that really comes into play of that moral victory of not getting that loss because they're already 3-8. But again, I'm playing the Broncos. If I get the 2-point conversion and I beat them, now what does that do to the locker room? Maybe my players will be more pissed that I played for the tie than for the win. They're gonna say,
Okay.
"Oh, we're here to win. We're not here to tie. I'd rather go home with a loss because we went for the win." I don't know. That's the, that's what I'm saying.
It makes a lot of sense. It does, right? And quite possibly, then you can look back and you played spoiler a little bit for the Broncos, right? What they did do though was help keep the Broncos close to the Patriots. So I think we all of the AFC East should acknowledge what a great play call it was by both the Commanders and by the Broncos. Okay, here's the next game. And if you thought it was over, it's not. It's our weekly dose of the Cleveland Browns. There's just so much to talk about. And we're not going to go into play-by-play like we did last time. But there's some things that still need to be talked about, Stevie D. So you have Dylan Gabriel's girlfriend, which how do you say this nicely, right? Want to say this nicely. You need to get control of your woman. Period. Right? And I'm trying to be nice. Because she's not your wife. Let's understand. She is not your wife. And she could railroad your career by her social media TikTok tweets that are going out that people are like, I don't want to deal with this. Now, with Mahomes, it's a little different, right? A, it's Mahomes. And B, he's married. So it's not a lot you can just say or do there, right? And we've
Giselle did it with Tom Brady.
Yes.
On Edelman in the Super Bowl. Can somebody catch the ball, please? Right?
Yes.
Right? So there was, that sent shockwaves like, whoa.
Right? That's right. We're talking about a backup quarterback and his girlfriend of a backup quarterback saying that the organization really wants Dylan to be the quarterback. Oh, boy. What did you do? What did you do? Right? I'll tell you what Dylan Gabriel didn't do was get in front of it. I'll tell you that. That should have been first and foremost that he got out there. Again, we talk about leaders. You get out there and you address it. And then you address it similarly to the way that Shador is addressing some of these idiotic questions from the media. What is this, a joke? What are you trying to start something? You have to take control. Regardless if you like Shador or not, regardless if you like Stefanski or not. You take control. And he didn't do that. Which means that probably at home, he was egging her on. Oh, that was a good one, right? What else are you going to say? What else are you going to tweet out or put on TikTok? So, there we go again. There's just the Cleveland Browns can't get away from drama. And then you have the Jerry Jeudy episodes. And really, I'm not sure, and I'm trying to figure out, are people trying to make a story out of nothing? Or is there some there, right? You watch some of the plays, and I know quarterbacks will overthrow you, right? Josh Allen will overthrow you. Mahomes will overthrow you. Lamar will overthrow you. It happens, right? Their consistency of not overthrowing is what puts them into the category that they're in, right? I remember when Josh was a rookie. I remember, and I can only speak of Josh, right? But I remember what they were saying about him. He had no accuracy, wanted to play hero ball, inconsistent, right? These are things that now when you look at him, well, he was your 2024 MVP, right? And they were saying, oh, look at his touchdown interception ratio, look at his accuracy, look at his touch, and all of that. So that you can see the maturation and he's got to that point. Now let's look at Shador. Why is Jerry Jeudy jumping down Shador's throat on the sideline? then you have to wonder, why isn't Jerry Jeudy still in Denver? Right? And now, is there a cause and effect? And now, have we seen that starting to come into fruition here?
Yeah, we talked about that, right? The Jerry Judy scenario the other day. It's mind blowing to me that you have a wide receiver, a veteran wide receiver of what, 4 or 5 years in the league now, and yeah, you don't want to look over there, and, and you're verbally, not verbally, hands, and because you can't read lip, well, you could read lips, I can't. But his attitude on the sideline towards his quarterback, it's like, what are you doing? You should be picking up your quarterback, saying, "Hey, you know, hey, we just missed that one. Don't be afraid to throw it. Next time I'll go get it." Right,
Yes.
and stuff like that. I don't. I truly was perplexed when I saw the video of him going into a young quarterback that had his first week of preparation with ones all year.
Yeah.
And the other part for me on this whole,
Hold that thought. Hold that thought for half a second.
yeah,
Just think about what you said. He's just had 1 week in preparation with the ones all year. Who has been his favorite target? Fannin. Why Fannin? Because that's the guy he's been throwing to the most, right? And now he's playing with Njoku, but really, he plays more with the twos. But now he's on the field. Case in point. I mean, your point is made right there.
and it's still mind blowing to me, and I don't know what the right word to use is. I want to say ignorance, but I don't know if it's the right word to use here. Is that the folks, the folks that don't like Shador, all right? Because there's a lot of people that don't like Shador for whatever reason. I think we know most reasons, but that they don't like Shador, and they're dogging him that he can't play quarterback. He's a guy that has not practiced except for 1 week with anybody worth value within that organization. Okay? You tell me a rookie that could come in and expect greatness. I don't care. And people want to say, well, he says he's legendary. It's a way for him to make money. Okay? It's called free enterprise. Okay? Everybody forgets about, all of a sudden, we forget about free enterprise. Right? You're marketing yourself and you come up with a thing called legendary to make money. If I can create a tagline of legendary and sell it and people will buy it, heck yeah, I would do it. But I'm not good enough to do that, right? So back on hand, it's unfair that everybody's expecting this kid to come out and complete 70 to 75% of his passes, to hit every target on the run in the right spots. And if he doesn't, he stinks. Why is he playing a card? Get him out of here. Very rare does a rookie quarterback come in and just dominate. Just dominate.
Mm-hmm.
And even if that does happen, the percentage of that happening is very small. Now you're asking this kid to do this in a dysfunctional organization that has been dysfunctional since they've come back. Think about that. That's what we're saying to the kid. We want you to be a Hall of Fame rookie quarterback in your first couple of starts, even though you've only practiced with the ones once. That's what we're asking that young man to do. Whether you like him or don't, just think about that for a moment. The defense rests.
That was as solid as you could get. As solid as you could get. Craig, by the way, your test was successful. Not so sure.
Is that what that was?
Yeah.
He's got a new computer?
Not so sure on the MacBook, though. That's okay. Fisher Price for adults. That's all I call the MacBooks. I think you hit everything right there. Right? I really do. I think it's funny, my interest in Shador, sure, I followed him at Jackson State. I followed him at Colorado. Yeah, I was drinking the Kool-Aid. Doesn't mean that I wanted Shador on my Bills. I didn't say that, right? But I wanted to see what was going to happen, right? And I also was intrigued by Travis Hunter because I am a Florida State fan. And by being a Florida State fan, he left us.
Burned
He
you. He didn't leave you. He kind
did.
of burned you. He said Florida State. I'm not going to Florida State.
Right? It takes off for the HBCU, of which, it's tied to Dion. Dion should have been the coach at Florida State, which Stevie D, I have a story, went to the Florida State-Florida game. I'll tell you about that. But anyways, he should have been the coach of Florida State, and we would not be in the doldrums that we're in at Florida State. Anyways, when I hear, and you made mention, people say that he's not a good quarterback. Whoa, easy with that, right? He is a good quarterback. He's worthy to be in the NFL. But temper your expectations as well. To your point, he's a rookie. And he's a rookie who's been behind the curve. He's a rookie that came in. Most rookies are getting runs with the number 2s and the 3s. But they interchange with it because they want to see what they have in their rookie. He's behind Kenny Pickett, Flacco 1, Kenny Pickett 2, then Dylan Gabriel, and he's not even getting the same reps that Dylan Gabriel's getting. He's in the servant quarters. That's really where he was. He was cast aside. He was just there because Stefanski had to have him there.
It was like, do you remember the Brett Favre story with Jerry Glanville? Where he used to make fun of Brett Favre to say,
Yes.
"You in Mississippi mud," or what they used to call him. Show them how far you can throw the football. Like he was a side joke. And I guess the only way I could compare Shador there for a second is because Stefanski doesn't want him there. He wants nothing to do with him, and it's like, I gotta worry about this or talk about it. It was kind of like Glanville, because how the story goes is Glanville never wanted Brett Favre on the Falcons, and Ron Wolf, not Ron Wolf, the GM for the Falcons, whoever that was, because Ron Wolf was with the Jets, because the Jets wanted to draft him, but the Falcons grabbed him. But Glanville's like, why are you grabbing him? I don't need him. I need other players. So it's kind of like weird, 30-something years later. It's kind of like the joke in Cleveland. What's up, Nick?
How dare you, Nick? How dare you?
He's a Gator fan. You're a Seminole fan. I'm a Hurricane fan.
This is a family-friendly show. How dare you? Fraxfield Forest Pro Day. It goes beyond that, Rob. It does, right? Even though we have found the perfect landing spot, Stevie D, and I don't think it'll happen. We will see what transpires. Obviously, if I was a betting man, I would say that Shador outlasts Stefanski. I would also say Shador outlasts Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah.
Just my opinion.
Yeah.
And then I was reading an article in Cleveland doing Cleveland things. They had already, established the Pickett, Flacco type situation. You have a third round pick, but you need help on your offensive line. You need help in all these different places. Why are we reaching in the third round when you could have drafted in the fifth like they did with Shador? But you could have taken Gabriel in the fifth. You could have held out. Gabriel would have been there as an undrafted free agent, in my opinion. Again,
Yeah,
I'm not throwing shade at the guy. Just I've seen the story, right? UCF, Oklahoma, or I've seen it. So
look at what the Jets did years ago with Christian Hackenberg. Everybody laughed that the Jets not only drafted Christian Hackenberg, they drafted him in the second round. Like, what are you doing there? Like, you wasted a second-round pick on a quarterback who never played it down in the NFL and was out before his rookie contract, and nobody signed him after the Jets cut him. So it just goes to show you that kid should never have been drafted, and the Jets reached so far for that kid, and it was a waste. And that's basically what I look at what Cleveland did with Dylan Gabriel. Again, I don't know the young man. I don't wish him ill will, but when I watch him on the field and I watch him try and command that huddle, I don't see that presence that a quarterback needs to have to command the troops in the battle. And I just don't see it out of him. And again, I don't wish him ill. I just don't think he's an NFL quarterback. And there's a lot of people that get drafted, right? That you say, I can't see him as an NFL quarterback. Just don't
Now,
see it.
I'll tell you somebody that goes to that he's had success, not a lot of success, is another former Jet quarterback who just doesn't command it, and that's Geno Smith. All the way from draft, well, really from Heisman on, right? Because he was a Heisman finalist, Heisman on. It almost felt like Geno was a man against the world. And when Geno wasn't taken in the first round, I felt for Geno.
Everybody for Geno being in that room. Oh my God.
Yes, which I'm glad they've changed that a little bit. But I felt for him just sitting there, and you watch player after player, and then you get down towards the end, and you're like, okay, and then the day ends, and you're there in the green room. Same thing happened for Shador, but at least he was at home. Right? You could, all right, cameras off. You can say whatever you want. Geno's got to put on this facade, and Geno didn't. Right? Geno walked away the angry man. I give Geno a ton of credit for coming back out. Right? I thought that was going to be the leadership kind of being demonstrated. Like you can knock me down, but I'm getting back up. I'm resilient, right? And I'm gonna keep fighting. And you probably can speak to this more than I can, but I didn't see that with the Jets. It almost went back to me against the world. And I don't know if you saw the same when he was with the Jets.
He didn't show us much with the Jets, and I think at that point in time,
I know what this is. No. Don't go there. Don't go there. You're okay. You're okay. You ready? Scoreboard? Scoreboard? Didn't you get a victory this week?
yeah. Well, because we beat the Baltimore Colts in the Super Bowl. Because he's all jealous and hating on Namath because his team couldn't beat our team in the Super Bowl. Is that what we're doing here, Craig?
Wow. I mean, those are fighting words, right?
As a matter of fact. Oh, wait a minute. I think I got it right here for you, Craig. Let's see. Look at that. Super Bowl champs. Look at that. Interesting. Let me get up there real close. What does it say down there? Oh, yeah. Jets beating the Colts. Interesting. That's okay, though. Craig,
Craig, ask him if he was alive for that.
It was color TV. That's all that matters. It was color TV. If it was black and white TV, you got me. But even though it was just RGB, 3 colors, it doesn't matter. It was
nowadays, even the black and white, they can turn it into color. So I mean,
well, the power of AI too, right? Sure, right. I forgot my train of thought. Craig distracted me with the name thing. Yeah, killing me over here, Craig. Killing me. Geno. I don't know. It was a dysfunction with Rex there towards the end of Rex's tenure with the Jets. It got really weird. And then our GM wasn't spending money because then they were getting cheap. It was really weird. And Geno just basically was, run out of town. And I think he went to the Giants. And then he went out to the West Coast out in Seattle and was a backup. And honestly, even when he became the starter for the Seahawks, I was like, man, it was like smoke and mirrors. I still didn't believe in Geno. I was happy for him. He got paid, right? That rarity that you fight your way through. Geno, how do I want to say this? Because I like Geno. Geno has a way of, it's like the Tony Romo effect for me. You choke in the fourth quarter, right? And there was times where you had the game and Geno, stupid fumble. An interception, you're just like, I don't know what you saw, Gino. I mean, it was just a poorly blown throw, a bad read, or you fumble on a strip sack on the time when you just can't afford it to happen. And that to me, that was Gino. And then when it started working out in Seattle, I'm like, nah, the real Gino's going to show up at some point. And he had success, but could never really lead them. And now he's just a disaster right now with the Raiders. Just an absolute disaster.
Well, I think the Raiders are very similar to the Browns, right? It just becomes too much dysfunction. It's just really hard to say what's happening there. It just a franchise in disarray. Okay, I guess we've waited long enough. I already went on my tirade a little bit there, Stevie D. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you. We'll come back to kind of wrap it up, a little bit more on Bills, and then we'll close the show. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, honestly, it was, Jets won. It was a gritty, wild game. It was not great weather, cold, rain. There was a little bit of wind there. It just was one of those. I think the Falcons got neutralized just a little bit because of the weather. Now Bijan had a big day against the Jets. A big day. Falcons were hurting without Drake London. They really didn't have that threat, but I thought what hurt the Falcons, they never tried to go downfield at all. Whether they didn't believe in Kirk Cousins can do it or they didn't have that threat because Drake London was not there. I think we were able to kind of cheat a little bit on the defensive side of the ball in the passing game. But at the end of the day, they got the victory. Right, a clutch kick by Nick Folk. The defense, came up with the stops when they needed to give us the opportunity. Tyrod Taylor made some plays there in the fourth quarter because we were not good offensively for 3 quarters, or 2.5 quarters. We were not good offensively, right? And so I'll address that in a second, Kevin. Is we did enough to win the game. But I don't really want to talk about the game. I want to talk about the progression of the Jets. Okay, as we're seeing here since November, right, where we couldn't win a football game, where we had leads and couldn't hold it. Now we're seeing, again, it's baby steps. But, when you're talking about turning a large ship, it takes time to turn that ship, right? And that's kind of what we're doing right now is that we're learning how to win football games late.
I like the analogy. I like it.
Right. And that's what we're doing. And we're winning games late. We're showing that we can come back and then hold it, right, at times here. And because we won 3 of the last 5 games. Again, not beating world beaters. Don't get me wrong. I'm not twisted here where I'm saying that, these are great victories. They're victories that earlier in the year we would have lost. And the players are buying in, and the culture change that's happening, and the other players. Okay, we've won games now without Quinnen Williams. We've won all 3 games without Garrett Wilson. We've won 2 games now without Sauce Gardner. Actually, all 3 games that we've won, I think Sauce Gardner was not in the lineup, actually. And we're seeing the emergence of rookie safety Malachi Moore, who earlier in the season was getting beat, was having some missed tackles. Man, he's totally different now the last several weeks because he's getting meaningful reps with the starting, and he's learning how to play safety. A.Z. Thomas, your guy from Florida State, that's taking over from Sauce. Obviously, they were seeing something where they felt really confident in trading Sauce Gardner after re-signing him. Yes, they got a haul back for the guy. But knowing that, man, we really believe in A.Z. Thomas. And, man, he's putting together pretty solid weeks now as a starting corner, as our corner number 1 for the Jets. And so Briggs, a guy that we traded for in the offseason, is putting together a solid season up the middle. He's not Quinnen Williams' replacement, but he's Quinnen Williams' kind of replacement there. And he's done nice. And you can kind of see what Aaron Glenn is doing. And all the people are saying fire Aaron Glenn. First of all, you have to be darn sure the guy's not the answer. And I'm sorry, people, you don't know. You think you know, but you don't know. And to say to get rid of Aaron Glenn after 4 weeks, after 5 weeks, after 7 weeks, it's all misguided because you thought the Jets should have gotten this coach or that coach. Ben Johnson was not coming here, right? So let's move past Aaron Glenn's our guy, and it takes time to change a losing culture. And now we're seeing it a little bit more in the back half. We do have some, again, some things that's still going to change, and roster is going to flip at the end of the year and continue to bring in his guys. But I'm liking what I'm seeing. So, that's really for me from a Jets report. I think they're playing more as a team now than we were in the previous, 10 weeks. So when we in week 14, we've played 12 games. I would say in the first 8 weeks of the season, we were not playing together. A.D. Mitchell, you're right. All right. I didn't even talk about A.D. Mitchell. He had that rough first game, but look what happens when you give him balls that are catchable. Right. And Jet fans were making it seem like the guy can't catch the ball. He didn't get good balls thrown. Now he's getting better balls thrown, and he's showing value. And I think he will be a very nice compliment at a young age.
So there's the question.
Yeah.
I know you delayed the question. So should you draft a franchise quarterback in 26 or wait till 27?
Wait until 27. There's a couple of reasons for it, Kevin, and I appreciate your question. And that's Kevin, who does that. Was that? I want to make sure I get the podcast name right. If you can throw that back up there. I know it's got Bohica in the name. Operation Bohica podcast, right? So, Kevin's a great question. Thank you for asking it. I don't think we would go. One, I'm not happy with Mendoza from Indiana. Everybody's in love with this kid. I'm not in love with the kid. Just not.
You want Arch. You want Arch.
I don't know. In fairness, I don't know who I want in 27 because I haven't done that. You know me. I'm not big on college. In all the years that you know me, the most college football I ever watched is when Shador and Dion went to Colorado, and we were watching Colorado every week, right? So in fairness, I don't watch. I'm not big on college. I try every year to get into it. It's just not who I am in college. Maybe it's where I grew up. It wasn't big on college football. It was about pros. So I'm not big on Mendoza. I also think we have too many pieces that we still have to fill. So to start that rookie contract for a quarterback a year early when I don't have enough pieces in place. Now, I will say we have an offensive line that can handle a rookie quarterback. I like our young line and how it's coming together. So from that standpoint, you could draft a rookie quarterback in 26 because you have the line to do that. I personally rather see more pieces in place that can, again, be that much more ready for a rookie quarterback in 27 and then start the rookie contract in 27 and then have that 4 years at that low dollar value starting in 27. Plus, the draft class is so much better in 27.
So here's where you have to kind of weigh it, right? New coaches come in. Typically, it's either their first year that they get their quarterback or it's their second year that they get their quarterback. Which Aaron Glenn, this is his first year, no quarterback. I'm assuming that they were planning on 26 to be the quarterback class that they draft from. The other thing you have to be careful. Now, you jettison some big names during the trade deadline. You have a lot of draft capital coming back. But where you want to be careful is there's that balance. And I don't know if it's a guessing game. I don't know if there's some legitimate logic that goes to it. But you're going to have to ride that of keeping the team focused and motivated and not losing them through the quote-unquote rebuild while you bring the fresh talent in to complement them, right? So they should be able to see the complement, and then it's where does the quarterback fit in there? I believe offensively you have the pieces in place. You're tweaking the offensive line, if anything, because you've been drafting nothing but studs for your offensive line for the last couple of years. You have Mitchell now to go along with Wilson. You're set there. If Brees wants to stay, you have that.
Well, you have the franchise option for Brees, so you're in control of the destiny whether Brees plays for you or not next year.
I don't know about the Davis kid, right? I don't know.
Oh, Isaiah Davis.
Isaiah Davis as
Well, you
the
got Braylon Allen that's going to come back from injury.
okay, so there you go. There's your complimentary back. Your offense really is just missing that true signal caller.
And Mason Taylor, I like the young tight end that we drafted in Mason Taylor. So we even have a tight end there as well.
So that if there is a quarterback that they like, right, then you got to pull the trigger.
If they truly like Mendoza, I don't like Mendoza. I would not draft Mendoza. That's just me. I would. And here's the other half too that we have to worry about.
We're gonna start a GoFundMe for Stevie D to get a Mendoza jersey. We will have you in a Mendoza jersey come training camp.
It may be a Steelers Mendoza jersey, a Jets jersey, but it's a fair point that you're making, right? It's a really good point. If you have these pieces in place, do you then go for the quarterback in 26? I just don't like Mendoza. I just don't like him. And the other thing that concerns me about drafting a quarterback, whether it's 26 or 27, and Kevin, this is for you, is do we have the pieces in the building that can mentor a young quarterback? Yeah, Tyler Shuck, right? Living large. Yeah, I'm going to see him live here in a couple of weeks when I go to see the Jets in New Orleans. But
Hey Rob, the Jets had a shot at Shador as well.
we had a shot at just about everybody. We chose to grab the lineman instead of a quarterback, right? We could have Jackson Dart, right?
There you go.
Thank you, Craig. Now you're back in. You're back in the circle, buddy. You're back into the circle. I'm easy. All I have to do is go Jets.
That's all it took. That's all it took.
That's all it took. But do we have the people in house that can mentor a young quarterback? Do we have the right OC? Do we have the right quarterbacks coach? Do we have the right other pieces in place to support a young quarterback and make him grow? Because if you think, not you, Vince, but Jet fans, you remember that thing called the chia pet? Remember the chia pet as a kid? The little pottery that grows, right?
Where are we going?
If the Jets think they can draft a quarterback and just put a little water on the chia seeds and it's going to grow, it doesn't work that way. You really gotta cultivate here. This young quarterback over here. I mean, you just can't just mix a little water and say, okay, go do your thing. That's it. You're the top draft pick. Go have it like we've done with previous quarterbacks where we don't give them the support.
Kevin, you see what you started. You asked the question, and now we have digressed into chia.
It's the truth. It's the truth with this organization.
What in the world?
We don't know how to develop a young quarterback because we don't give him the necessary coaching there. And that's what concerns me about drafting a quarterback. We're going to draft one. Could be next year. It could be 27. I personally like the 27 draft class better than the 26. Where we're trending right now, that draft capital that you have in 27 would disappear to trade up to go get your quarterback this year.
Yeah, I think it's Stevie D, not to really jump in on this. This is one of the greatest guessing games in all of sports, right? Is when do you pull that trigger? Now, I'm gonna bear with me, just give me a little leeway. I remember when the Bills had the number 10 pick, we needed a quarterback. They opted to trade that number 10 pick to Kansas City, who in turn gets Mahomes. But Kansas City was loaded, ready to go. They had Alex Smith coming off, and they knew what they limitations, and they saw this guy as being the gunslinger that would fit Andy Reid's system, and they went and they got him. Right? Buffalo said, well, next year's class is quarterback rich. This is where you get lucky, right? You have to admit, this is where you get lucky. Things fell a certain way, right? Whether it be Mayfield going at the top, Darnold going after that, right? And then you're left between Allen, Rosen, and Jackson. And again, truth be told, I was an Allen fan, or I was a Rosen fan, and I thought that they were going to get Rosen. I thought he was more pro ready. It's luck, and we lucked out. We took the risk, took the gamble, and things have worked out. But you add one more thing. You talk about the development. Who's going to be the mentor? Is it going to be a quarterback whisperer? Hopefully not for you, because you already had one quarterback whisperer. But is it going to be a quarterback whisperer? Are you going to leverage technology? Who's going to be the coordinator? Who's going to be the coach? How much are you going to put on that young man's plate? Right? I think, and not to say that Justin could be the answer, because I really think that Justin, between the ears, he's not the same guy we saw at Ohio State. He just isn't. Justin Fields. But you also have to have a coach coordinator that is willing to live with the mistakes as you mature. And I don't think Justin really had that. And then even with the Jets, we saw where he was very hesitant, right? He wasn't seeing the full field, sideline to sideline. He wasn't seeing down the field. And so he only saw this little area, which ultimately became his demise. So if you get a new quarterback, you got to say, yo, let's go, right?
Yeah.
The governor is off.
Yeah.
You do you. I saw you do you in college. I want you to do you.
Yeah. If you tell a quarterback, don't turn the ball over, they're not going to pull the trigger because they're going to be afraid. Right? What's up, Joey? Right? You're just going to be afraid. You just got to trust it and go. And, yeah, so that's the answer. I don't think they're going to grab the quarterback this year. I don't. And unless they honestly believe Mendoza's the ticket, they have the draft picks to move up. Jeff George. Art.
Where are you? No, Art Schleister. Hey, where are you going here, Craig?
Craig, are you showing some age here?
You are. It's not a little Kenny Rogers there. All right, Stevie D. If you don't mind, I'll take that baton because I'm ready to throw it at my TV as the Sabres are just disgusting.
Yeah, that's not a good game today.
Okay. The funny thing is about the Steelers game, and I'm going to be very much like you. I'm not going to really dwell on that game as much. But the funny thing is, everybody's making a big to-do about the play calling and how Buffalo was consistent in running basically the same play, maybe a couple different formations. But they had so much success. Why do you stop it? Right? The old adage, you keep going until they stop it. And they couldn't stop it. And if they thought about overloading, which they started to do a little bit, then you can counter that with whatever you want to do, and it's going to be wide open. Stevie D, they were stacking heavy 7 to their left side. 7. I mean, a counter weak, I mean, you're wide open. But, at that point, the game was too far gone. From that perspective, I thought that Brady was smart in the play calling, and it was a demoralizing type game. Demoralizing to the point where Cam Hayward is now wanting to get in the face of Josh Allen and say, you need me in the stomach. Bro, you're talking about a quarterback, and you're complaining that he needs you in the stomach. And that's going to cause you to go in a tailspin. Remember, this is the Walter Payton Man of the Year that's going to go into a tailspin. Grow up. And now I'm not challenging you, Cam Hayward, because you're a bigger man. So,
oh, come on, man.
I have to make a business decision with this one here, DVD.
There it is. The business decision. Smart man.
Yeah.
Reward, my friend.
But as an internet podcast cowboy, I'm going to tell you to grow up, right? Because you've done things there, and I don't know if Josh did or didn't, but it's kind of hard. Two people trying to get up off the ground, and he needs you. So are you saying that as he got up, he put his knee into you? Get real, right? But that's the mentality that happens when you get demoralized, when you get run on with the same play over and over and over and over again. So kudos to Brady for sticking to the guns, for identifying the weakness. Something we saw with Carolina, something we saw with Dallas a couple years ago, right? Hopefully, you're doing enough advanced scouting that you can find these things, whether it be through the air or whether it be through the ground. Now you have Cincinnati coming up, and Cincinnati is prone to the aerial attack. So then we should be looking to attack. Maybe that's why they signed Darius Slay, to be on the offensive side of the ball. Neither here nor there. The other thing that I want to talk about from that Steeler game is not so much the Bills, Stevie D. It is truly an end of an era for Mike Tomlin. And the reason why I bring this up from a Mike Tomlin perspective, I've always been a Mike Tomlin fan. I think the way that he commands the microphone, the way he commands the room, the locker room, and if you don't subscribe to that, you're gone. But he had the respect for the longest time of his players, right? We saw what Antonio Brown did, and he was gone, right? Because you don't fit into that culture. But I think that era of coaching is gone. And then I start to look at what's happening in Buffalo, and I look at Sean McDermott. He and Tomlin are joined at the hip, whether it be being the college teammates, right, to their tenure as coaches in the NFL. Same mentality. And is that what's happening in the locker room, that all of a sudden people are starting to tune it out a little bit? I don't know. I don't feel as though the product that we're watching is consistent the way we have seen it in years past. And maybe only that message can be conveyed for so long before people are like, I heard this before, right? I heard this in 2024. I heard this in 2023. So when you ask, can you make that run, right? That was a question you asked last week. I don't feel that as much. Not to mention the talent's not there, but I don't feel that as much. And that may also go along with they have talked about the quarterback coach combination making it to a Super Bowl. And, coaches and quarterbacks who have been together for X amount of years, once I think it's 6 or 7 years, if you haven't made it to the Super Bowl or you haven't won the Super Bowl, it's not going to happen. I think that goes into that message falling on deaf ears. So I think, we can laugh and point fingers at the locker room across the way, but very much I think it is kind of like a look into that crystal ball to see what may lie down the path, year after year down the road. I think that message is starting to ring hollow. Now, I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer after a victory. Again, I'm glad we won. We take on Cincinnati. Joe Burrow had a good return game back, but I don't think he's the same. I don't. I think this is a game that you can win and you should win. It's going to be interesting. I did, Stevie D. I did play with the playoff projections. Harbaugh as well. You're right, Craig. Right? You're very, very true. Let's just go through some of these real quick here. Wow, it was hot and heavy. So, guys, bear with me. Craig says Colts got lucky. All right, so we saw that one. Yeah, Joey talking about the 3 goals and 25. You are right about that, man. Turnover after turnover at your own blue line. What are you doing? The game changed dramatically when Queen hit Allen late on the QB slide without a call. Yeah. Um, let's see. Hayward, your pride. This is from Joey. Your pride got hurt. That's why you're upset, not just because Josh needs you to stomach. Agreed. And then Rob, it's a fickle fan base in Pittsburgh. They've complained for more than a decade over mediocrity, despite Tomlin never having to lose a season. I'm not going to say it's fickle, though, Rob. I'll disagree with you. I think the fan base and the ownership is one that we all aspire to be and to be for. That's a fan base that is rock solid. I mean, I know we talk about Bills Mafia, but you do have to look at the Pittsburgh Steelers fan base. They are maybe spoiled and entitled because they have won so much, especially in the past. They did have a nice run, and they haven't really been in the toilet like the Bills, the Jets.
You know, when it comes to the Steelers, they missed on Kenny Pickett. They went for a quarterback and they missed, right? And when you have a franchise that's in need of a quarterback and you whiff, it takes several years to overcome that. And they tried to piecemeal that,
100%.
right? With Russell, you know, Justin came in for 6 games and then Russell replaced him. But you're trying to find that next Ben Roethlisberger, and you missed. And it sets you back. And what'd you do? Now you gambled this year with a 41 turning 42-year-old quarterback and hoping that he was going to find the fountain of youth because you're desperate because you had to move on from Russell. Justin wanted no part of you because you benched him after 6 games, whether you liked him or not. So he wanted out and he got a better deal with the Jets. But what else were you going to do? You could have drafted a quarterback, but in Shador or whatever. You could have taken Jackson Dart. There was options there if you wanted to get a quarterback in that first round. You chose not to do it. So it's almost like now you didn't draft. You went all for some reason. They thought it was a good idea before the draft to be all in on Aaron Rodgers, and that's what and we talked about this, right? It's so odd for the Steelers organization to make that type of decision. It was mind-blowing that they made up their mind early on in the offseason when they knew it was not – when the Jets decided to cut him, we're going to bring in Aaron Rodgers. Like, as soon as the Jets cut, like, we're going to bring in Aaron – and it took a while. I think Aaron was doing his weird things again with the marriage to himself and such, and it took a while for the deal to happen.
The darkness retreat. Don't forget about that.
And he came out married to himself out of the darkness retreat. To the wife that nobody with the Steelers has ever seen. They don't even know her name. So that's a whole nother weird mystery thing there.
Do you know how many events they've had that says bring your +1? I mean, they just make up events. Bring your +1 just to see the wife.
Yeah.
Never has happened.
Right. Because he married himself. So he's just not disclosing it. But you went all in on Aaron at 41-42 thinking he's going to, get you to 10 wins? 11 wins? Get you to, like, I don't know what they were really hoping for. It's a lot to ask, whether you like Aaron or you don't. It's a lot to ask for a 41-40. I mean, we've only seen one quarterback in the 40s do anything in the NFL, and that's your guy, TB12.
PED12.
Oh, PED12. Thank you for the correction. Right. He's the only guy in the 40s that ever done anything as a quarterback. And so now you're asking.
Craig is on fire. Craig is on fire. Elvis
is in the building, baby. Elvis Skerback, baby. I remember that guy. So I think the Steelers are just, I don't know what they're thinking. It was like they're having an out-of-body experience because they're not acting like the Pittsburgh Steelers that everybody knows. So,
you know, it's funny when we talk about this. I do believe that 2025 was a predetermined exit for Tomlin, and I believe that the Rodgers saga was tied to that exit. I don't think that Tomlin was in the mood, in the mode, in the want to develop a rookie quarterback. I don't think he wanted that. and he's got this whole never finish below 500 and all that kind of. I think it was all about that, and maybe we could find lightning in a bottle with Rodgers, and then some of the things that you posted there, Rob. It's absolutely true. Um, just the moves they made seem to do more to tear down the team than to bring hope. There's no hope. And now they did make the move for Metcalf, but that's not the same. It really isn't the same. And you guys have all brought valid points, right? The letting Roethlisberger go too long. It's a hard one to let go of, though, Rob, because when you have somebody that has delivered, that is the face. It's the same with Jim Kelly. We didn't let Jim Kelly go. We brought in Jim Kelly's backup as Todd Collins. Todd Collins, right? That's the same as Kenny Pickett. You can't let these guys go. They tell you when to go.
Yeah, but you know what? I hear you, right? Because most fan bases will say, "What do you mean you're getting rid of the player?" And Belichick did it the best. I said it the best. I'd rather get rid of a player a year too early than a year too late. And GMs have to realize that at some point when that franchise quarterback is on that other side and he's breaking down, Ben, I think was injuries, right?
Yeah, it was.
Was injuries. You have to see that happening, and you have to be just like what the Packers have done in their history over the last 30 years, right? You traded for Brett to get your franchise quarterback. Then you drafted Rodgers to sit for 3 years behind your established quarterback. And then they did the same thing with Jordan Love. And so teams that can recognize that and have a game plan to have the next person in line to sit and learn and know that you got that guy, man, the Packers wrote the blueprint.
They did. They did. It really is hard to get rid of the face, right? If you talk about running back, wide receiver, defensive end, safety, corner, all right, I can let you go, right? As much as you've been good to us, I can let you go. When you talk about the true face of the franchise, that's a tough one. And you're right. They did it.
The Packers did it twice. And the
They did
fan bases hated it.
Well, now
On the Favre one, they hated that they moved on from Favre.
In fairness, they did and they didn't. They did because the end result is Favre ended up moving on. Rodgers ended up moving on. But did they really make the move? They allowed Favre to dictate his terms year after year after year. They kept saying, "Hey, well, what are you going to do? Are you coming back? Are you sure you want to come back? Are you coming?" He's like, "Well, let me think about it." And then he'd come back. And now you got Rodgers sitting on the side. And Rodgers did the exact same thing.
But they had the plan because they had the quarterback drafted in the first round, and they had Plan B ready to go to pull that trigger.
They did. Now that you're right,
and that's where I'm going. They were ready for whatever. They were ready.
Yes, for sure. They just kept saying, "Will you hurry up? Will you hurry up?" Right? And they're looking. The clock is ticking. Look, man, I got a rookie ready to go, and it didn't happen. All right. So, we'll bring this one to a close. It was a fun and good and spirited discussion. Rob, I appreciate it. You got one more on there. The Steelers have the highest paid defense in the league. That's not on Tomlin. They haven't meshed. They're a mess. They're just a mess, right? And I think they're throwing everything at the wall, just like Brandon Beane is throwing everything at the wall, hoping. Except for Brandon's got Josh Allen to kind of save him, and Jimbo Cook, right? So he's got those. But Stevie D, quiet as kept. We're at the three-quarter point of the season. I have tried to be very cognizant about not saying, "Man, this season's going fast." Man, because that's what we say every single year. But when you think about it, we are just about done. Uh, and it's been an interesting season. It's been I think as a Bills fan, I will speak as a Bills fan. It's been a little longer than we've wanted it to be. Right when you're rolling, it's just going as fast as possible. But when you have all these bumps in the road and you start having a lot of finger pointing, at least fans to administration or at least OWSports to the Bills organization, right? It seems like it's dragging on. But yeah, at the end of the day, we're almost there. We're almost at that finish line now, and we're on the stretch run, um, which also means that it's going to be another end of a season for OW Sports Podcast coming up. We still have a couple months, but man, you just realize how fast and how much we've done. So, but we do say thank you to everybody that's out there. Rob, all of the comments and the stats, appreciate all that. Craig, you were on fire today. We'll just say
That new MacBook. It's that new MacBook that he got, right?
it had to be built-in AI. Maybe that's what it is.
Is that really Craig putting those posts in there?
Oh man! And to everybody else who jumped in and asked questions, we absolutely appreciate it. Make sure you give us a like, give us a subscribe. Make sure you tell your friends. Make sure you tell your loved ones. Make sure you tell your coworkers. Tell the garbage man. Tell the mailman. Tell the baker at the Publix or wherever you're at. You know, you're pumping gas. You get pulled over. Tell the cop, hey, I'm listening to OW Sports Podcast. Maybe they'll be into it, and maybe they will also let you off on a ticket because they're like, I like Vince and Stevie D. You never know. We do enjoy that. Appreciate that. Now, before we do go, Stevie D.
Yeah.
So we always talk about risk versus reward, right? So there's a couple things. I was able to go to the Florida State game, and we're sitting there in the student section where it was mixed between students and older people and regular people, right? But as we're sitting there was an older family that was on the in row, 2 rows in front of me. And there were 4 of them, 65, 70-ish, right? And they were there to watch the game. They were taking it all in, right? And then you had the frat boy from Gator fan, right? And I don't know what happened. And it doesn't really matter what happened because all I saw was this young guy just absolutely berating and lambasting these old people that are watching the game. And he's going off and he's pointing his finger and he's there with his buddies. And I'm assuming that he's a frat guy, right? Because they have a certain look, and that's what I'm assuming, right? And he keeps going. People are trying to pull him back, and he's like, let me go. The old man was just like looking at him like, have you lost your mind? Right? And he's taking it all in. And it seemed like with each word and each pullback, Stevie D, that the blood started to boil within me, right? And I started thinking about risk versus reward. And then I started to think the reward of slapping the bleep out of this kid is far greater than the risk. Because it was annoying me, the fact, the level of disrespect that you would have. The old family, they were not doing anything to you, nor would they have done anything to you. But you're trying to be Mr. Tough Guy, the popular guy of this little frat, of what? Trying to intimidate or try to, belittle the older people that are there? No. And Stevie D, it was crowded. It was packed. And when I got to that point of the reward is greater than the risk, the stands, I kid you not, all the people that were in the seats below kind of parted. And I had an open shot. I mean, there was no excuse me.
Right.
It was like allow me to get up and walk down and walk over. I didn't, and what ended up happening, and I honestly don't think I would have, but I really wanted to. But one of his frat boy friends kind of bear hugged him, and then they kind of pulled him out of the way. But I really wanted to just slap this kid so hard, right? Put some sense into him. Then I started, we were talking about it amongst us. What causes you to do that? When I was younger, there was a written and unwritten rule of how you treat your elders. That's just something that you would not do. That wouldn't even cross my mind. And to watch this kid do this, something is just so wrong. Just so wrong. Anyways, to the Gator fans that I was with, I want to thank you. Right? Now, see, the Gator fans, they were coming to me as a Seminole fan and to some of my other Seminole brethren that were there, and they were laughing and joking and mocking. Hey, don't worry about it. You're not going to a bowl. You stopped us from going to a bowl. You stopping us to go into a bowl did us a favor. We are this close to getting rid of Mike Norvell. And when we do, it's because of you. So then when we get a real coach that can do real recruiting and they can have real in-game coaching, I'm going to thank the Gator fans. Do you remember when you beat us? It's going to be thank you because of you. Okay, so Stevie D, that's going to wrap this one up. Again, thank you to everybody. We really appreciate it. It was a fun show. It was a great show. And we're headed into the stretch run. We have big games coming up this weekend, and then we got to start talking about the holiday. Rumor has it that Stevie D is in the lab working on an OWSports Christmas CD. Don't know if that's going to make it in time, but he's like Dr. Dre, right? He is in the lab and he is working hard, so hopefully we get something out. At least the 12 days of OWSports, maybe something like that. Ooh, there you go. All right.
Yeah, buddy.
All right. So we do say thank you to everybody. We want to wish everybody, a great week. We will be on again next Wednesday, 8 p.m. And for my co-host Stevie D, I'm Vince. We'll talk to you soon.